This was played at the 2019 St. Louis Rapid and Blitz. A blitz game here between Fabiano Caruana on the white end and Liren. Those of you who are Caro Kann players will almost certainly enjoy this one. It's not every day you get to see the Caro Kann win in only 26 moves. Now, with the setup Liren goes with in this one, he takes what's normally a slower, more positional opening and turns it into an attacking weapon. So really, whichever side of the board you find yourself on, I think this is an important game to be familiar with. We work with an exchange, Caro Kann. Standard moves now, bishop d3, knight c6, and c3 to defend the pawn and secure the bishop. One quick note to help make this game more memorable for you. Each side takes at least one step to prevent the active deployment of the enemy queen bishop, or the bad bishops in this case. We see this on move 5 with queen c7, no bishop f4, and also h3, no bishop g4 eventually. Of course, playing it straight away, not a good idea, but this move, once it's in, bishop g4 becomes an idea. Now, for right now, when I see h3, I view it as a preventer, defending a square, and also producing a flight square for white once castled. As play develops, as black's setup is in place, I start to see h3 in a different way, in a negative way for white. We continue with knight f6, knight a3, looking to maybe converge on c7, a quick knight b5, bishop f4. This idea is ruled out altogether with a6. Knight c2 and g6. At first glance, you may say black's preparing to fianchetto. This is not the primary function behind g6. Instead, it is to develop the bad bishop. In general, black is welcome to this exchange, not the move played in the game. Black is welcome to this because of the great grip now over the e4 square. This knight is really well supported on e4. Also, you could view it, this half-open g-file is now that much more appealing for black. With the pawn now on h3, g3 is that much more weakened. A knight on e4 is not easily kicked either. One day, if you ever play f3, the knight has a jump into g3. Caruana's play in this one is to duck the bad for good bishop exchange. In comes e6. Proceed with caution playing a move like this. The bishop doesn't have any retreat squares now, so before you play this move, you have to ask yourself, am I going to be trapped? If g4, you're not, but still something to question. The bishop has the e4 square or the capture available. From here, castles, and now h5. So this is setting up possibly a fishing pole idea. It is available, possible knight jump into g4. If captured, black has the h-file to work with, possibly a mate on h2. In addition to a fishing pole idea, you could also say that black is now one step closer to engaging with this h3 pawn. Just 2 tempi away, 1, 2, g5, g4. This is now a possible hook for an attack. From here, knight e1, bishop d6, a very flexible post for the dark square bishop. No fianchetto, kind of biting on a rock from g7. Stares at both sides of the board from d6. It fights over these 2 squares that the pawn supports. Knight d3. Knight e4 brings us to the halfway point of the game. Both of these knights are focused on e5. Now that the knight is on e4, if a knight hops in to this square, maybe it's going to be kicked straight away with f6. Bishop e3. No same-sides castles in this game. Queenside castles on board. So this is really, once queenside castles is in, this is really where you see this h3 pawn as a liability. From here, rook c1, g5 straight away. No supporting move with f6. He simply gets on with g5. Now, what's considered best in this position is to play c4 to justify this last move. c4 never hits in this game, and this ends up being a waste. So the suggestion c4, this is considered a top line, captures on c4, and then after g4, it says hop in the center and allow this capture, allow the g file to open up. This is not at all easy for a human to play. It calls it about even here. What is the direction for white? He takes the pawn. So now it's a race. You know, whose attack is going to hit there first? This is already considered a winning position for black. f4, knight g3, rook f2, and now the knight is given a kick back to f3. The knight returns to e4, targeting the rook. Rook f1, and the g-pawn is pinned, so we got bishop takes h3. And now this is the focus, the g2 square. It's defended. In comes h4, king h2, and from here, battery on the g-file. Queen looking to sweep in here with a check, next knocking out the bishop. g2 is defended, or is it really? Black can still take on g2. And bishop takes. There's two ways to recapture. In the game, white takes with the bishop. How does play continue if knight takes bishop? Black can play with queen g3 check, king h1, and then h3. You see the idea here? There's a really big threat. Let's say black moves the knight. That would seem like the most logical reply to h3. Well, the queen gets to go to g2. And it doesn't matter now which way the queen is captured. Let's say the knight takes. Black would get to recapture, say double check, and then give checkmate. And that is a beautiful attacking sequence right there. In this game, it is bishop takes bishop, which allows queen g3 check, king h1, queen takes bishop. Black is attacking for free. Black is up a pawn, in fact. Rook f3 played. Final move of this game. I wonder if you can spot it. Feel free to pause the video. Okay. Black doesn't have to go anywhere with the queen. h3, and white resigns. If the bishop moves, it's mate right away. If the bishop doesn't move, it's going to be captured. What other options are there? Rook takes pawn, you take the rook, and then take the bishop and say mate. And of course, if the queen is captured, we would get that same idea of a double check and then mate. What did you think of this one? Anyhow, feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now.